Um, Hamadakyapi, we're coming at you live from Racing Magpie in Rapid City, South Dakota. And this is the second year, or this is like the fourth or fifth year for the Winter Count series. And this is my second year. They asked me to come and facilitate these discussions. And it is my pleasure to bring in one of my favorite artists. I have interviewed you. You're like one of my, like I have people that I interviewed twice, three times, but you're like a five-timer.
That's what they do.
Yeah. No, 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 no. You have lots. You have lots of information. And uh, I introduced to you all Don Montileaux.
Hello there. Hello. Yeah. Hey.
Don is a ledger artist, storyteller, and he's been at it since he was a little guy. He was Pine Ridge, Oglala Lakota, Lakota Zintkalazi, huh?
Yeah.
His Lakota name is Yellowbird. And we're here today. Don, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. It's last week, Chris Bordeaux and I was in Aberdeen at the South Dakota Indian Summit, and it was a surprise to both of us that we made it, and it was fun. It was an adventure for me because on Thursday, I went to 6 elementary schools, and each school I got to, I was anticipating 20 students. There was at least 60 second and third graders that all sat down in front of me, and I read my book, Muskrat and Skunk. And it was just crazy because I don't know if you haven't read the book, you should get it. And it's about the first time our animal relatives discovered the heartbeat of Mother Earth. And so all of them come and enjoy just listening to the beat of Mother Earth. And they all dance and have a great time. And eventually Big Bear comes and he represents the elders in our powwows when he comes out. And so I had all the kids, each session was so cool because I had each one of the kids pretend they were one of the animals. So they were either a bird or a rabbit or a mouse or even a buffalo. I had one kid, one principal in one of the schools became the buffalo.
Oh, really?
And he was coming out and he was like, this big growly bear. And we went around the circle and they were all bouncing and doing these things, it was just wild. And every time I get participation like that from the little ones, it just warms you up, it just makes it solid.
That's cool. Where did that come from, Don? Like, where did it come from for your desire to share, especially with children like that?
I've always, I'm an only child. And so I have like 20,000 cousins, and about 100 or 200 aunts and uncles and grandmas and things. But I think as a younger child, I always was quiet, and I learned how to listen at a young age.
Oh, yeah.
So I learned how to listen to all those elders tell stories,
Wow.
and it was just something that was there. And then my dad, he was a horse trader and a trainer, but he was also a real good drawer. And so we didn't have any of the conveniences we have today. All we had was a radio. And this was back in the 50s, So,
Yeah.
And so we'd listen to the radio, and Dad and I would draw Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck.
I was
And
that was one of my questions to you.
Yeah.
Can you still draw Mickey Mouse?
Oh God, I can draw Mickey Mouse. He's all he is circles, so I can just circle him up. But I have a mean skateboarder I draw for the younger kids anymore.
Oh, yeah?
He's got his hair's flying back, and he's got his boogie shorts on and his big shirt sleeves, and he's kicking his board out, so it's almost doing a twirl. But I can do him like 30 seconds. I can draw that that image. So, but it's just great. You know, Alex Whiteplume is probably the one totally responsible for me actually getting into book writing, because Alex told a story one time. We was at a gathering at his ranch, and he told the story about Kashunka, a Lakota horse story. And this is the one here. But Alex is totally responsible for this. I had heard this story so many times from my aunts and uncles. And when Alex told it, it just kind of went bang, snap. And I thought, you know, you're an artist. Why don't you write the story down, illustrate, and try to get the book published? But the big turn in this whole book is it's in Lakota as well as English.
That's cool.
So I had to find Agnes Gay, who was the one that translated into Lakota. And she's been with me on both my books. And in Muskrat and Skunk, it's really cool because Agnes called me up one day and she said, Don, there's no Lakota word for bam, bam, and boom, boom. I said, let's just go with it then.
Let's just go with it.
So she's a quiet lady. If anybody knows Agnes, she's so reserved and quiet. But I'm the exact different. I'm loud and noisy and everything. And we have a good relationship, her and I.
You know, you told me once in an interview, I asked where ledger art came from. And you gave me this wonderful story of how it became and how it originated from Buffalo. And that was something that was revived. The Buffalo art was revived through ledger art. I would, if you don't mind, would you kind of share with me again how that came to be, how ledger art came to be?
You know, I've always wondered why our elders always had such a long time talking. And as I get to be older, I understand now, because everything we as Native people do, there's always a long story about how it came around.
You got an hour.
Probably needed a half an hour. But Herman Redout was my mentor. I met Herman at the Sioux Indian Museum. He's from Fort Peck Reservation up in Montana. And he was a great hide painter. And his children didn't want to be hide painters. And so Herman just kept persistently talking to him, wanting to learn more. So he took me under his wing and he showed me. And Herman took me through the process of tanning a hide, actually going out, stalking a buffalo. We didn't kill it, but we stalked one. And then later on, we learned how to, there's a certain way to skin a buffalo, and you probably know. You know, you don't cut the whole thing. You wrap it around the legs and things. But Herman taught me that whole process. And then we went up to the hills and on the plains and gathered certain earth pigments, different kind of colored pigments and things like this. And then we had to find, we took rabbit skin and we flaked it down to make the glue. And then we boiled the glue. And that was our adhesive to all the other colors and things we had, the different pigments. And Herman used a bone brush off the hump.
Wow.
And it's real absorbent, that bone. So Herman would use that. And Herman was so amazing that he could make, he'd dip that bone brush into the pigment and he would bring that pigment and color down. He could do about 18 inches straight, just right down the line. Just so cool. But so he was my inspiration. But every time I'd go to a show and I'd show my little skinny looking hides, and Herman would show this magnificent buffalo hide. I mean, 1, 2, 3,
wow.
First, second, third places.
He did that.
And if there was an honorable mention, maybe I'd get an honorable mention. So I had a.
So he'd clean house wherever he went.
Oh my God, yeah. Herman he was great. And he also painted teepees too. So the Sioux Indian Museum has a number of his collections in it, of his hides and stuff. But I had an ego and I thought, I can't stand this. I mean, I can't have Herman win all these things all the time and me with nothing. So I researched and I found out that once the buffalo were gone, the the people turned to storekeepers, soldiers, anybody that had ledger books, pieces of paper. And so they adapted themselves from painting on hides to painting on paper. And so that process was quite a process because they had to depend upon the storekeeper again to get their supplies, mostly watercolor, pencils, colored pencils, and various things. But if they hadn't done that, our culture wouldn't have survived because our culture is not a written culture. It's a picture. Pictures tell stories.
Huh.
And so without that transition, we probably would have lost a lot more of our ceremonies than we have retained them, through those drawings. But
Dang, goosebumps.
yeah, man,
That's cool.
Herman is so cool because like we were sitting out having smoke. That was cool at that time, have cigarettes. And so we were sitting out there visiting, and he says, he'd always tell me stories. And he says, one time, he says, a long time ago, he said, our people would always look for an advantage. And that advantage was always on a rise, a hill coming down into the enemy or whatever. And he said, they always had this small pouch on the side of their horse's jaw right here by the mouth. He said they'd pull that pouch in their mouth, and that pouch was filled with different herbs and spices. He said that gave that horse a burst of energy. He said that those horses would just fly down that hill into their enemy. He said, and as soon as he said fly, my horses never galloped or loped again. My horses fly.
Dope. That is
But it's all
cool.
due to Herman.
That is cool.
Cool, and in the audience today, we have another person who really listened to Herman as much as I do. That's John Center. I mean, Herman he was a good man.
That's
And
cool.
so,
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Man, you are literally answering every question I like. Because I wanted you to share the story about the horse pouch because when you first shared that with me, like I said, I've been getting into plants.
Oh yeah.
And like I said, I can name these plants now.
Cool.
And I went and found the plant that you talked about that was in the pouch, that Oglala Lakota. And I was like, so this gives you energy. You know what I was thinking? I was like, I wonder if I take it.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean is that because you installed that, you kept that information, you kept sharing it and kept sharing it. For me, I'm making these discoveries because of that.
Good.
And it's all survived by art.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whenever I look at your career, and I mean, I know you a little bit, just a little bit, but I don't know how you feel about it whenever we name off all these accolades that are out there. You're in the South Dakota Hall of Fame. You've been at the Red Cloud Art Show since its induction. And you've been honored, you've been given honorary degrees. And I really wonder about that as we reach the time of your life when you're, as opposed to when you began, how it was to be challenged. But what does that feel like to be said master ledger artist? How do you look at yourself whenever
in a mirror?
But how about this? When you do look at yourself and you think about your career, what do you think about?
I think, man, I never think of myself. I think of our people. And I really think that each time I get up in the morning, if I can influence a young person or if I can influence an artist who's just struggling to get out there and try to get his work done. I'm looking across at one of my ones that I walked the road with as on mentoring a little bit, Wade Patton. And it's Oscar Howe was my cool boy, and every time I do something like this, I bring Oscar with me. And this is his book right here. and it's an image of the Oscar on the back. And I was lucky enough to spend 2 summers with Oscar. And
What was that like? I mean,
inside he was the taskmaster, man. He was mean, and every line had to be precise. But when we got to his house, and we was invited to his house several times for little barbecues, he was the greatest guy in the world. I mean, he was like my uncle.
that's cool.
He was just right there, And I didn't have a Lakota name. And Oscar and Herman, Herman was at the workshop as well. And Herman says, Montileaux is kind of a cool French name, but it's not a very good Lakota name. And so he said, Oscar and I have talked through the winter, and you're like a little bird. You're into everything. You're all over the place. You're over here. You're looking over here. He said, you're just like a little yellow bird. He said, you're going in a good direction, but he said, you're really taking a lot of detours getting there. He said, so your Lakota name is going to be Zinkalazi, Yellowbird. So that's how I got my name. But I'm never me.
What do you mean?
I'm not, I'm Oscar, I'm Herman, I'm even Dwayne Wilcox, I'm John, all these people influence me every day of my life. And I have 3 minks that's in my studio right now. One's Bobby Pinn, one's Arthur Amiot, and one's Oscar Howe. And every day when I'm down and I really can't get it going, I look at those boys and I remember each one of them and what they gave me. So if I can give that to somebody, I think I'll achieve my goal in life. So
Thank you. I had a conversation once with John Day about Oscar Howe, and he was talking about in Oscar Howe's golden years that there were people rummaging through his trash. And the reason why they were going through his trash is what they were trying to acquire any scribble, any picture, anything.
Yeah.
How do you feel about somebody going through your trash?
They probably, well, every time I get done with something, I tear it up. I rip
Oh, do you
everything
really?
up. Oh yeah, I do. I rip everything up.
What's that about?
I just don't. I just do. I guess I do. I
Interesting.
don't want anybody going through my trash. No,
You probably
no.
learned from Oscar.
Yeah, but when I create something, it's kind of like as an artist, though. If I put a line on a piece of paper, I don't erase it, because I think if we are artists, truly artists and craftsmen, whatever, each thing we do to any material we use is art. And every time if we have to erase that line, we're erasing ourselves. So I don't erase.
The only reason why I ask is because whenever I interview, I love interviewing artists. I've interviewed several here, and I noticed that you guys are always compelled. You guys are always like, you can't stop it. Like I can't just come up to you and say, Don, can't do this anymore. You're like, no,
No.
you're not going to listen to me. So I wonder, like, knowing that, like, because there's conviction that artists have to be able to showcase whatever it is they have. And I was wondering about how you feel about those, like, when you want to share, are you more observant of, because of where you've gotten to this far with all of your career, are you more observant about how you display yourself as an artist?
Oh yeah,
Because,
definitely.
because we have so many, I mean, eyes are upon you,
Yeah.
and so I'm curious, what is it, how do you deal with all that? Like, how do you maintain, because you seem to be so level-headed, Don. I mean, you just, and I'm curious, like, as an artist, and as other artists are here, and anybody watching, how do you keep yourself from Warholing it.
I don't. I I guess I'm I'm humble, and I'm thankful that the Great Spirit gave me what I have, and I want to share that with everybody that I can, especially young people. I love young people, man. They just give me a boost, man. And that's why I write my books now. And the first time I wrote a book was Tashunka, and just didn't it didn't come out the way I wanted it to, because I wanted to have interaction with young kids. I wanted to really have it open up and them just get into that book. So the book designer I had was from California, and she had no clue what South Dakota was about.
Oh, wow.
So the next book designer I had was from Sioux Falls, and she really could relate more so to this. The one in California, she wanted us to have mountains. And I said, have you been to South Dakota? Have you ever ridden between Sioux Falls and Rapid City? I mean, I don't know where that high point is, but I think they have a tower on it by Laura Brule, you know. But she really helped me out. And this book has pages that have boom, boom, and bam, bam. And it can really interact with your drum as you're presenting it. And at the end, it really has a whole meaning, because it's about Mother Earth and how we have our drum and how we imitate that drum beat, that heartbeat, you know, of Mother Earth. So if I can inspire anybody with what I do for them to be better, then that's great. That's I've accomplished my goal.
Mm-hmm.
But how you present yourself, you better know your stuff too. You better, when you bring up me at Don Montileaux, I mean, I would not be here if it had not been for Oscar Howe and Herman Red Elk and all my fellow artists that I showcase my art with every time I go to a show. I mean, I bring Dwayne Wilcox because I'm doing a workshop a little later. And Dwayne does ledger art totally different than I present ledger art.
Yeah.
But that's how, as artists, we showcase ourselves.
Yeah.
Like when people look at my artwork, they say, "Oh, those are Don's horses because look at the hooves. I mean, his animals fly." Or I don't try to create a flat two-dimensional piece. I always want to have my pieces jump off the paper. It's something like those places in like New York and Chicago where they paint on the streets and look like you're going to fall in to those holes, you know.
Yeah.
I want my piece to jump off that page and to come at you. That's how I want my presentation.
That's cool.
So another story away.
Let's hear it.
I used to be a traditional dancer until I got my knee worked on. And I think that Washicho's in my knee because the Lakota all left because there's no bounce in that knee. I heard a poem in Santa Fe when I was going to school in Santa Fe at Institute of American Indian Arts. The poem started off was this dancer was dressing, and he said when he put on his moccasins, he thought of his grandma who made those moccasins for him, and how each and every step of lazy stitch was put into that moccasin. So he put those on. He said, when I put my bustle on, he said, I thought of who made my bustle and where that came from. And fortunately, John's here. John made my bustle, and I acquired it through Arthur Amiot at a name giving Arthur gave. But so my bustle is not a fancy bustle. My bustle is an old time bustle. It's really a little bustle. And so when he puts on that, he thinks of that. So when I put on my bustle, I thought of John, you know, how he was, how that man is. And then I got a Payshaw, and my Payshaw's from Pete Ketches. And Pete's really a good man on the reservation. You know, he was a good leader and a spiritual leader. But every time I open my Payshaw up, I take it off my stick, I hit it on my hand, and it just bounces. It just it's alive, you know. And then when I put my two feathers on, I think of where I got my feathers from. And every time I put my extra garb on my harness, when I put my harness on, I came back from Santa Fe and I didn't want to be a wallflower at the powwows. I wanted to participate. And so I asked my mom and dad, I says, can you help me get a costume together, an outfit? And mom says, well, I don't know how to lazy stitch, but I can loom bead. And I thought, man, that's cool. So I made my design for my harness, and mom and dad and I, we beat it. We loom beat it, my harness. And so that was good. And then I wanted a shirt, and it was really crazy because I asked my aunties, who are real good seamstress, to make me a shirt, and they wouldn't do it. They were too busy. So I asked my cousin, and Penny Hunter, and she says, I probably could do that, and it's not the greatest shirt in the world. I mean, it's a little crooked, the collar's maybe not straight or anything like that, but that's love. I mean, she made that for me because of love. So, when you start putting on your outfit, you think I'm Don Montileaux. But when you get your outfit on, you're not anymore. You're all your relatives. All your relatives are there. And I think that's why we can dance so good and so long, because we can float like eagles. We're not there.
That's amazing, Don. Thank you. That was cool.
Yeah. So,
man, that's a cool story.
Yeah. So, and I think that's art. Every time I go to an art show, I love to see my fellow artists there, because as I get older, we make it through another winter. And that's really something. And
so I was thinking, Don, I hope I didn't interrupt you, but now that you're here, like, I'm curious, like, what are you working on? What are you doing? Or what do you want to do?
Well, I'm a fireman. No. Right now, currently, I have a commission to work for the SDSU, South Dakota State University. They put an addition onto the Black Hills building that's here in Rapid City. They put a wing on it for their nursing school. And so they have this room inside there that's for lecturers. And I'm doing a piece for that. And there's 2 walls, but when I get done with this piece, we're going to take it down to Ross Johnson, who's a sign painter, and he's going to blow it up. So from my 14.5 by 47-inch ledger drawing, we're going to blow that up to 4 foot by 9 foot. And we're going to buy all 4 of those pieces are going to be on this wall. And what's going to be, on one side, it's going to be the Horse Nation, and on the other side, it's going to be the Buffalo Nation. But in between, there's 27 foot. And so I'm going to have this blanket design, 18 inches wide, 27 foot long, to join the 2 together.
That's cool too.
And I use Prisma-colored pencils, and I can burn those things up on one teepee. I can burn a color up on one teepee, because the teepees are probably currently, they're probably 10 inches tall, but when it blows up to that 9 foot, it's going to be pretty good size.
Dang, that's cool. Well, I look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, me too.
Whenever something like that, what you just described, or even your ledger art, like, when you go into it, do you have a set plan, or does it come out?
Do you have a plan, Wade, when you go into it?
Really? Does yours do that too?
Yeah. I think that we as artists are so involved in our piece. When we're doing it, it comes alive for us. It starts talking to us. And I'll be working over here. One time I had a fight with this old woman. She was over here on my paper, and I was working away, and she kept saying, I want a green dress. And I hate green. No, you're not getting a green dress. And finally I relented, and she didn't get a bright green dress, but she got like a forest green dress,
Yeah.
But it talks to us, and some people probably think we're crazy, but we can't create without that art talking to us.
That's cool.
And I think when I'm working, in my studio at my house. I'm fortunate to have a studio in my house. My wife comes in and scares the hell out of me all the time. I say,
What does
make
she
some
do?
noise because man, she says, Don, and I go, oh. And luckily I don't work with paint because it'd probably be all thrown out because I work with pencils,
Make some
but
noise.
we do. Once we're in the zone, I mean, even Chris and, John and Wade, they're all here, they all know that that's the best feeling in the world, man. When we can get down and working, that's the best one, because we're we're good with the world then.
Wow, that's cool. You know how to paint color with the wind.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You know, I love colors. I love brilliant colors and with Prismacolor pencil I found my media because I can lay it down like I can lay down 8 layers on a piece of paper and then finally it gets to the point where I can start blending it in.
Wow, 8 layers
Yeah,
before you
yeah.
even.
Oh yeah, right. And it, and once you get there, you can start blending that, and then pretty soon you don't have pencil marks anymore. You just have a nice solid color.
Wow, I didn't realize how much it went into it.
Oh yeah.
That's cool though. I mean, to get an idea of what goes into it. I've been noticing you're really talking about energies and things that you get from these. And I just whenever I talk to artists, you guys really do full, like walk around with this energy, man. Like
We walk around with a lot more than that.
well, that's
Uh,
that's really interesting you say that too, because I notice me and my wife were trying to do a uh kind of like we're talking about like where these feelings come from, these energies, and we're really trying to learn more about like how to identify them and work with them. It's really interesting with artists because it's almost like when you were talking and it made sense to me to see like you're taking all this energy and you're putting it on paper. And I can't, I mean, whenever I draw, I don't think I go into that detail. And but I know what you're talking about when you zero in and then all of a sudden little noises freak you out.
yeah.
And when you're in that state, like, does time fly for you?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I can go in at 8 o'clock in the morning in my studio, and next thing my wife is saying it's lunchtime. You lose yourself. I mean, it's just it's all comes together. It just all joins together.
Oh yeah, I wanted to know, like, how long does something like that take?
It took 78 years.
You're right. You're right. You're right. Um,
I know what you mean.
yeah, I know.
If I sit down, I guess I always draw.
Right.
I got my clipboard right beside me. I'm watching TV, but I'm always drawing. And pretty soon something happens that it looks good. So then you take that off and you develop it more and more. And then you maybe run into your studio. I get up sometimes at 4 in the morning because I have a great idea
Yeah.
and I don't want to lose it. So I run in my studio and I scratch it down because you want to keep it, and I I'll do a little drawing and I'll do red. I'll do a little point with arrow and I'll have red, blue like this. So I retain that, but it's really really different because you just probably if I could sit down solid and really do something continually, which you never do, there's too many interruptions. It would probably take 24 hours, probably that, but it'll never happen
Hmm.
because you got to eat, you got a phone call to take, you got to go to the bathroom,
Yeah.
all these items that you have to do. But I think if you sat down straight, you probably wouldn't have the same peace you have if you take all those breaks because that lets you. I I have a trick. I take photograph of my on my phone now. I take a photograph of that drawing, and then I go in my living room. I set it on my nice chair, and I look at it, but it's a different perspective that you're looking at.
Yeah.
Because when you're up close on that piece, you can't see it. You don't see that whole piece. But when you take a picture of it, you can see it then. You can see that whole piece. And then your mind starts working, and then you can start saying, okay, now I think it's not balanced here, or, I got to repeat a color here. And you just start laying it out better.
Mm. Dang. How did you figure that out? Like, I mean, it sounds like something that you were like, hey, I could, whatever,
I think that's a gift
Mm.
that we have, because I look at these artists that are around me and they know,
Yeah.
and that's what's a good part about being with artists.
Yeah.
You don't have to say, feel, and you don't have to explain that to them. They all know that.
Yeah.
They already have that
Yeah.
feeling, and
that's what inspires me about artists, because every time I see you guys, like you got something, and it's like you got like a hot potato, and you can't like just like most people like put that potato in their pocket, keep it to themselves, and not talk to anybody, But you guys are like, you see people, you're excited to talk to people. Like the energy that comes off of you guys is crazy.
Yeah.
But like what I also wonder though is like whenever you're by yourself, is that energy still the same, or is it still like is it something else?
No, it's still there. You feed off people.
Yeah.
I especially feed off other artists because I've got a agate that John gave me,
Mm-hmm.
and I've got some drawings that Wade gave me, and other things that we have, around. But I, I, I'm never alone.
Mm.
There's always a spirit within me.
Oh.
He's always there. I think we're special people because we're willing to share that with other people. And I think we all share it in a different way, but we all have our way of communicating with individuals.
So I have something. My I me and Lisa, we do buffalo butcherings.
Mm.
And we go into different communities and we share. And like literally we share everything. We're not keeping grandma's secrets. We're sharing
Yeah.
everything because we want especially children to learn. And one of the things that I've been doing this for since 2016. And one of the things that I have developed in all those years and just doing these all the time, the buffalo butcherings, is all of a sudden I can look at people and kind of get a gist of who they are.
Yeah.
And I'd never had that before. Yeah. But whenever I started doing these buffalo butcherings, I started to, because it's such a sensitive place for indigenous folk, because like what makes us indigenous? Language. If you can speak Lakota, then you're Lakota. And then it's like, if you look Lakota, then you're Lakota, or, and in a sense, if you know how to butcher, then you're Lakota. You know what I mean? It holds up something that makes a person competent.
Yeah.
And it kind of freaks me out a little bit because it kind of feels like a little bit of a superpower. Uh-huh. But the thing about it is that like, is there anything in your life that you've been able to acquire because of your medium?
That's a heavy question.
Meaning like if has parts of your personality become something because you're able to observe from that angle? Man, I am getting crazy deep on these questions, huh? No, what I'm trying to figure out, Don, is just a little bit more about like what you've also learned through your art, I guess. And like, what special powers have you learned because of your art? I should say. How about that?
Oh wow! I don't know if it's power or not like that, but it's sharing my culture with the world,
Mm,
and through my ever drawing that I do has a story behind it, like when I tell about my horses flying and things like that, and every piece that I put on there, like the moccasins, the bridge cloth, the weaponry that they used and things like that. I never draw a drawing with guns. My there's no I never have drawn a drawing with guns.
why is that?
Well, that's something that's not Lakota.
Mm,
We used what we nature supplied us
mm.
to do, and I, I guess my power is putting color down on a piece of paper and make it look like something.
That's cool still.
That's
Just the way you say
that's
that.
it.
That's cool. But what's up with green? What's your beef with
I don't like
green?
green. I just don't like green.
Why not green?
I don't
You
know.
just don't like
I
it?
just don't like it.
Wow.
But
You ever take a look into that?
well, there's green in my pieces, but it's always a fight to put it there. The only thing that's green on the bottom of a muskrat and skunk is because Mother Earth has green, in
Mm.
it.
So what's your favorite color?
Red and blue and orange and black and yellow ochre. I don't have a favorite, but
Right.
those are my
You
five that I work with.
you go to.
Oh yeah, those are
That's
my
cool.
go-tos.
Do you ever try to experiment with your artistic ability? Like, do you ever try different things like, I don't know, TikTok, making a video, or, I don't know, just making a dress?
uh, no, I think I can relate everything to drawing, everything that I do, because when I draw, I have a story behind it. And even though that ledger art has a story behind it, well, then I can translate that into books for children.
Hmm.
And I think this is the greatest thing I've done is to translate those stories, our traditional stories,
Yeah.
and put them in Lakota as well as English, and then give those to our people worldwide that they can enjoy that as much as we did. Because as storytellers, maybe that's another gift that I have is uh, I love it when I'm joined, when I tell a story. If I have a person that can speak Lakota, I can read the English, they can have the Lakota part going. And the other part is if they're a singer or something like that, they can share that because traditionally, that's how we told our stories to our people.
Mm.
We had other people backing up, mainly because if you got too far away from what you were telling, that person would bring you back to that port. Especially if he was like a warrior and went out there and did some really brave things, and you kind of trying to go over the top and telling how great you really were,
Yeah.
but you didn't do it, and that buddy will tap you on the shoulder and say, "Oh, no, Cola,
Yeah.
you're not going the right ways."
That's cool. Um, all right. Doc Yappy, we're kind of coming to an end here on oh, I'm way off. My bad. Um, I guess I could start this now. I don't mind. One of the things I wanted to do is because we have all these wonderful people
Yeah.
here, I wanted to see if any of you had a question for Don. And if you wanted to share, otherwise I got another one loaded.
Lord.
I'd be curious if anybody be interested in asking Don a question.
I have a question for these guys.
Ooh, there you go.
All my buddies are here, all my contemporaries like John's here, Chris is here, Wade's here, and
Rocks over there.
yeah. But it's always such an honor to look at these guys and to be able to when you're talking, just they're nodding.
Mhm.
And this crazy one just came in here. I was $5 because I shared your book. Oh, that's security, man. But we're all crazy. We're all goofy guys, but we're brothers. We're brothers and sisters, and we're really tight.
Mm,
And it's really crazy because when we all get together, we're competitors in that world. We're all trying to.
I would never have thought that. You know, the way you guys talk to one another, you guys are your own. I mean, I could see when you guys run into each other, you guys automatically click.
Yeah.
And that's really unique for such a population of people that are competing with one another.
Because like if I have somebody in my booth and they're giving me something that I think, man, you should really look at Wade's stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And I'll send them to Wade, or like, you know, I need somebody that I would, do you know anybody that makes jewelry? And I'll go, geez. Yeah, I know somebody that makes really nice jewelry, and send them to John, you know.
Yeah.
Or even a competitor like Dwayne just came in, you know. His ledger is so different than my ledger. And his is so damn funny, it just cracks you up, you know. And but we're all brothers, you know. We all share.
Yeah.
We're that's great. I don't know how we do it.
I don't know how you guys do it either.
Chris could probably tell it because he's educated.
I've interviewed Rock, Wade, Dwayne, Peter, and you guys are an interesting bunch. The reason why I wanted to ask you about that was because storytelling is in our culture. Like storytelling is one of my favorite things. I mean, I was on the radio for a long time, and so being able to articulate a story is kind of like my forte, I guess. But I was curious, just from what do you either what's your favorite story, or tell me like what is storytelling to you?
I think that's really a sharing process that you can give a gift to a young person. And I got that gift a long time ago, given to me by Oscar and Herman and my dad. But if we can give that gift to them, and I see that gift every time, you know, just in this last week in Aberdeen, I told my story of muskrat and skunk to these young people, and they were so intent on listening to me that they actually became the bird. They became the bear, and they became a rabbit in that story. And when I asked them at the end to imitate those animals on our procession out of the room, and you could look at them shaking their tail feathers and moving their wings and jumping and hopping, and that bear just growling and mean coming out, you know. You gave that gift orally to them to carry on, to maybe take it home and tell mom and dad. So our culture lives by us as artists, but also us as storytellers, and also us knowing our culture so that we can share our culture with each and every person too.
Man, that's so cool. I just know that like through storytelling, I think Lakota people, indigenous people in general, that makes us much more able of deciphering whenever something's a lie or whenever something's fake. You know, I just love it. I just think that storytelling is an art form, an education, and I mean, I could talk all day. I'm a chatty Cathy, man. I could keep going, you know. I have lots of questions, and I could just the thing about storytelling from me, from my perspective, and the way people share their stories, sometimes it gives me goosebumps, and it's just it's crazy because it's like you said, it's a gift, and I just had a great conversation, Don. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Like I said, is there anybody who have anything they want to ask Don before we start? I'm gonna walk over to this gentleman right over here. I'm gonna hand him this. No, I know, but we have that's fine. I have people.
Yeah, I have a quick question. You were saying that you were commissioned by the South Dakota
State University.
Yeah, yeah. When is there any kind of time frame that might be done that people can
we're
go take a
hoping,
look or whatever?
we're hoping that during the Christmas break, they'll install it. And then we'll probably put it on Facebook or something like that for them to have a opening and everything like that. So, but once it goes to Ross Johnson, who's turns it into, the canvas that he puts on the walls, it takes him about a day actually to put it up. So they're waiting on me to finish my sketches, my drawings, and I've got 3 done, and I'm halfway done on my 4th one. So I should be done with that next week. I'm hoping.
I just want to cap this by leaving it to you, Don. Is there anything you'd like to share with us before we end this conversation?
I hope that I can continue to be an artist and continue to share my culture with individuals. And I just enjoy my life, what I'm doing. I mean, I'm very blessed, and I'm very happy to do what I do.
Mm.
And I'm especially happy of the artists that surround me as well too. And I'm really hungry.
Yeah, I can hear some stomachs growling. Uh-huh. All right. Thank you guys very much for coming today. I really appreciate all of you guys joining us and being a part of this conversation. Don, thank you.
Yeah.
Ray, thank you for the
Yes,
beautiful
thank you.
setup. Peter, thank you.
Peter.
Shout out to Racing Magpie, to all of you relatives coming here today and joining us. Thank you, Wopila. All right, well, we're done here. We're gonna get to eating. Thank you all very much for everybody who chimed in through our broadcast. Plamealo. Doksha.
Uh-huh.